Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 546. Holy cow, Geeks in Space. I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda, and I am joined today by two of the greatest geeks that you would ever have the opportunity to meet. Yes, that's right. I press the button and you see them. It's Chris DeBona.
Hi.
And Rob Roseboom.
That's me.
I was a little worried there because one of the mics didn't unmute. I don't know which one it was, so I quick have to click that button. Freaking out. Everybody feeling safe and warm?
I flew on an airplane yesterday.
So no.
And 2 days ago.
So wait, are you officially in your 14-day quarantine now?
Yeah, it's actually not hard to quarantine when it's like this. I mean, it's fine.
You just go from one house to another and expose as many people on the airplanes as possible.
Well, that's the thing. The airplane is probably one of the safer places I go to. It's like, when you quarantine, you're allowed to go to the grocery stores. You're allowed to, the rest. I went to the grocery stores at 6 a.m. when nobody was there. And, I'm doing my part. I don't think I have it, but, I just sort of, act like you have it and don't be the guy with the zombie bite and don't tell anybody, So I'm not going over to my sister's for Thanksgiving, Franny is basically my daughter is being taken care of by her, and I'm just going to chill out and I'm going to maybe have an egg and some frozen tamales as a Thanksgiving dinner. And it'll be great.
So, that sounds really sad.
It's funny. I've been singing all by myself, while running around. It's the thing is, this, Rob. Both of you know this. It's like, when do we have any time alone?
Yeah.
The reality of COVID is we're crammed, ass to elbow with our family. And it's like,
yeah.
I've got 4 days to myself.
Yeah. Kat and I were having this discussion, not that long ago, but we were like, when was the last time that the two of us were in a place that was not our house? It doesn't happen because that means we would have to take both boys, and that just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in 8-9 months.
Well, yeah. It's really been interesting because before COVID, my wife and I, we had talked about, what would retirement look like? How would our days look? How would post Google look like? Right. And, in the very beginning of the lockdown or whatever, we had to sort of change how we interacted with each other so that we didn't,
murder.
Find me murdered.
Yeah.
No, she's not a violent woman. She's mean with a knife though. That's for sure.
I've said this a zillion times. I think that if we weren't hanging out, recording a couple of times a week, there probably would have been a murder in my house because this is the bulk of my social interaction on any given week.
It's important to me,
Yeah, it's been a trying year for sure.
Yeah,
with this being one of the highlights.
Yeah.
All right, so we have some fun things on the list, but the one that I really wanted to just say is that the Gimp is 25.
The new image manipulation program.
Yep, and I posted that story, and the first response that I got back on Twitter was something to the effect of, "I like that you still are including the at the beginning of the Gimp." And I didn't say it on Twitter, but my response was, wait, the offensive part of the title of the Gimp is the definite article? But no, I was thinking about the different bits of artwork that I made using the Gimp back in the day. And I kind of suspect that that this might predate very many people's usage of it, because in the earliest versions of the Gimp, before it even really had its toolkit, you had to it didn't have layers. So instead of having like the one image that has the multiple layers and you can do your dissolves and your transparency masking and all that through that, you had to do it as separate files. And so you would have open on your desktop a dozen images, and they would be like the shadow mask, and they would be like the blurred thing that you were gonna to superimpose over, and then you had to like click through and do all of these things in sequence, like through steps to get your final version. If you made any mistake, you realized that you were 2 pixels to the left, 3 layers back. You had to go and do it all over again. It was a nightmare.
Right. So the whole project looked like the evolution of man on your desktop.
Right? Yeah. I was actually trying to explain film matting, like compositing to a member of my family recently, and I was like, you should have just spent like 5 minutes trying to do this in the GIMP, because then you would understand like all of the individual steps, because we were talking about spaceships and superimposing them, and because you got to make the matte layer, and you got to have the regular exposure, and you got like all of these individual steps, and in old GIMP you had to do it that way, and it took a long time. Anyway, I love the GIMP. I
have to admit, whenever I look at that logo, I think about Trey McCombs, and I think about all the bad logos we did for various open source websites and our own personal websites, because they had that
Trey logo.
No. Trey didn't do this logo, but that gradient style, I was like, oh, that feels like Trey. But no, but I keep on. They had that like text art plugin where you could have like mirrors,
Gimp foo and script foo.
Yeah, script foo. I mean, it was neat.
I may or may not have written several. I think was that in Lua. Or no, Lisp. I can't remember if it was Lua or Lisp, but I wrote
probably Lua.
I wrote some macros in that, and had like tutorials on my homepage of how to use the GIMP to do different things. It was one of the more influential pieces of software, 25 years ago, 24 and a half years ago. I don't know when I first
still use it. There's also a politically correct name for it now.
Glimp.
I don't remember
is that what it was?
GNU lightweight image something. And that might have been a different library, but
I'm bad at that. I don't know the difference or honestly care.
Yeah, I know you don't care.
So let's see, what else do we have on the list? Rob, stop letting the moose lick your car.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
So were they getting stuck like the kid in Christmas Story, or what?
No, the cars are covered in salt because we salt our roads. And if you let the moose lick your car, there's a reasonable chance it'll go through your windshield.
Well,
was that their issue? They just didn't want the moose to think that all cars have salt?
Just candy.
They'll become habituated with being around cars. That poses a risk to both the animals and the drivers who accidentally crash into them.
Yeah.
But if they have a hankering for some salt, hey, there's a truck coming down the road. So I'm going to take a bite of that.
And a moose would absolutely demolish your car. I mean,
scroll down, Chris.
Living here in Michigan, we've talked about hitting deer and how dangerous that is. Now you right make here. A deer that's 4 times the size.
That's the part that made me so happy.
No, this is the thing. It's like moose are like people like they see horses and they think that's what a moose is. And I'm like, first of all, you're probably seeing a quarter horse, and it's called a quarter horse because they're smaller than regular real like horses. And it's like moose are huge. They're like 8 feet, 9 feet tall. It's yeah.
Yep.
They're big.
Yeah.
A lot of mass. Force equals mass times acceleration. And if that sucker wants some salt, he's getting it.
That's true.
I
mean, I don't know. Everybody in Michigan has their deer scare story.
Yeah, I bet.
And moose are bigger.
Oh my gosh. So
do you want the news summarized each morning, Chris?
No, that's what we're for.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to take our jobs.
Dear. Anyway, mostly I just put that story on there because I loved the idea so much that somebody has a sign that you drive by that says "Don't let the moose lick your cars," because Canada.
Also,
know,
I mean,
very
what are you gonna do to stop it? Are you gonna get out and fight the moose? You know, what sort of moose repellent are they giving you, or are they, you know, are they giving some ideas, some tips on how to get a moose to stop licking your car?
I like to think that if you looked at those signs that say "Don't let the moose lick your car," the other side of the sign is like, "Hey moose, don't lick cars."
Yeah.
And so far that hasn't worked because the Canadians are recently discovering that the moose, they don't read.
Well, the moose's written language is very hard to show digitally on those
it's
signs.
Like Elvish, you know.
Uh-oh. Ambaloo is telling you that a quarter horse is the size of a normal horse.
Right. It got its name from running the quarter mile.
Yeah.
Well, is it a draft horse that's the big one? There's one that's like...
Are you drafting behind horses?
I'm not really a horse person. This is
I just say things.
I just say
the first thing that comes to mind at all opportunity.
Like the one that like girls ride in the hills or whatever, they're usually smaller than like the ones that were used in war.
Are you telling us that friendship is magic?
Friendship's magic, and I think we should acknowledge those friendships. Look, well, what's really funny is when the horses, when they give you that horse stare, and then rays of light come out of their chests.
No, that's the Care Bears.
I don't know.
What's the difference?
I wasn't an 8-year-old girl with Care Bears.
And is it okay if the Care Bears lick your car?
Yeah. Is there a sign saying "Don't let the Care Bears"? And how do you tell a Care Bear not to lick your car? They're really cute.
They're adorable and they're warm-hearted.
Yep.
You know, you don't want to disappoint them.
And when they come together, like as a unit, they're basically like an artillery unit.
But that's the thing with the COVID. They can't hang out in groups like they're used to. The Care Bears are sad.
The Care Bears are socially distancing.
All they have is licking the salt off your car, and I'm not going to stop that.
Are you going to take that away from them? You know, the one thing that's making the care horses happy? Just saying.
Yeah, all right, I'm happy with the fruits of this conversation merely because we have the phrase "the Care Bears are socially distancing." And what's sadder than that? Oh, it's true though. Okay, so the difference between the Care Bears and My Little Pony, first of all, is that in the 80s, both of them are stupid. Yeah.
And they redeem themselves somehow?
Well, okay. Have you watched the Jenny Nicholson video on the brony culture?
I haven't. I've watched some of her videos, though. She's very entertaining. And I love that she provides the voice of Addison Cain in Lindsay Ellis's review of the wolf porn.
Yes, but that story was dismissed with prejudice.
And then they had the legal eagle guy come in.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't understand why you're making me watch wolf pornography.
Right. So you should watch her video on the history of bronies. And it's actually, she does a really good job of talking about like what My Little Pony was like in the 80s and 90s, and then why 4chan turned it into what the brony thing became.
So it's not like a kind thing where they're like, listen, there are subcultures, they're nice to each other.
She is the nicest that you could possibly be about a subject which is clearly adjacent, or like the Venn diagram of questionable overlap. Like, I don't know if it's a little sliver or a big sliver, but she acknowledges that sliver. She's got a whole thing about the pillows, the love pillows that are like made to look like My Little Ponies.
The waifu pillows? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pony pillows.
There's pony pillows. No, okay.
Of
course there is.
Right. Okay, so anyway, you should absolutely watch this video. It's really well done and really interesting, and it's really fun for me anyway to sort of watch the evolution of this fandom, because she does a really good job. It turns out that she has a personal history connected to this topic,
okay.
and that makes the story really interesting. Also, John Delancey, Q from The Next Generation, he is a significant character in this story, and you will really dislike him.
Brony?
Q did a voice
Oh.
of a character, and then later on kickstarted a Brony documentary because using his fame as being Q and a voice on My Little Pony, and he is also apparently not the nicest of fellows.
I've also always hated the Q character. I'm on record as saying this, that the worst thing about
tough.
TNG. You know,
I don't want to say it's the worst because maybe someone will come up with something worse, but for sure it's terrible.
I would rather watch a million holodeck Sherlock Shakespeare episodes than one Q episode.
I hate the beginning and end of that series because of Q.
I hate Q.
I can see
Q's
that.
crap.
I guess I don't care because I can regard him as just, I'm the generic magical elf trickster. But they use him. I mean, every season you get a Q episode, and some of them are good.
I mean, in the original, at least there was only one Space Abraham Lincoln, right? They got that out of their system.
Yeah.
Not Q.
I'm actually almost all the way now through season 1 of the original series.
Nice.
For my rewatch.
They took Deep Space Nine on Netflix. I was like, ooh. That's my next drive listen. You know.
There's a really good Deep Space Nine documentary that just came out.
I was going to mention that. I watched it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really well done.
It's a great show.
It's sort of spearheaded by Ron Moore. And whoever the dude was who was the creator of the show, and they like kind of step through like, let's write a pretend episode that we would do now. But they use that as an excuse to revisit old characters and actors, and I don't know, it's a really enjoyable thing.
It's called What We Left Behind, I think.
Yep, it's on YouTube. It's free.
I'm totally gonna watch that or listen to it during a drive.
You can totally listen to this one because you don't really care what these actors look like 20 years later.
I really enjoyed the part where they read some of their hate mail at the very beginning when it came out about how they single-handedly were going to destroy the Star Trek franchise and
ruined it.
All this other stuff is hilarious.
Turns out they might have had 2 of the best seasons of any of Star Trek. All right, there's a ASCII art article that I shared, which is totally
from 1939.
From 1939. It's totally no big deal, except that dude was doing it with a typewriter,
and like not a cool typewriter, but with a smack typewriter.
I assume that he would be, if you're doing it that way, you could use like the how hard you press the keys, to
I think so.
And you could theoretically also like back up and overlay, so you could overlay multiple characters on top of each other, and you could probably do some really fancy stuff that way. You could probably simulate, I don't know, like a half a dozen pixels within the bounds of a single character without any problem. Okay, Rob, I think you were the one that told us that we're all going to be immortal beings.
Nice.
Well, I mean, what they did is pretty significant. So they figured a way to not only sort of make it so that your cells don't leave garbage cells in your skin that just are never going to replicate and stuff like that, which is something that happens when you get older. But they figured out a way to extend the length of the telomeres that are at the end of your chromosomes.
Without causing cancer?
Well, yes, for sure, they can not cause cancer with it, because the part they're missing yet is making your cells rapidly divide again, which is from what I can tell, the only thing really keeping you from being just like the picture in the story, from old to young. Because the telomeres are basically just strands at the end of your chromosomes that sort of cap them. They keep them from ripping apart or getting stuck to other chromosomes. And every time your cell divides, the telomeres get shorter, right? So eventually you get to the point where the telomere gets to the end, the chromosome's no good anymore, and that cell just dies. It doesn't replicate anymore. And, in people, you usually see that in like skin, collagen, stuff like that at first. That's what gives you wrinkles as you get old.
That's why you trade blood with the young, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
R.I.P.
it also
Repeal.
happens to your internal organs and tissues and stuff. So they figured out a way to actually increase the length of your telomeres, basically rolling back your cell's biological age. So really the only thing they're missing now is to figure out a way to increase the amount of cells you replicate if you're old already to get back up to, you know, a healthy number of young cells in your body. Without, that's the part that, you know, anytime you're rapidly dividing cells, you're running into cancer, because that's cancer
that's
is.
what cancer is.
Or
So, yeah.
the way cooler result of this, which is just you like get bigger. Like you're still the exact same person, but you get larger and larger because your cells are all duplicating, and like it runs out of control.
Yeah, that's cancer.
Yes, but I
You
want
just
I
get
want
bigger
to,
with tumors.
but I don't want to get bigger with tumors. I want to be flawlessly reproduced, but
I
just
see.
slowly increasing in
So-
perfect size.
Right. So you want all the body ratios to stay the same.
Right. And I'm well aware that this, like, there's a lot of reasons that this shouldn't work, but there's also probably a lot of reasons that we probably shouldn't, like, age baby boomers backwards.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, this is, you know, you see those things pop up every now and again, and they're,
Tumors?
you know, like, no, well, that too.
Sure.
But, you know, anti-aging medicine, and they're always,
Yeah.
you know, like one kind of significant, kind of cool thing, but you know, there are many steps before this could work again. To me, this was one like, this is actually a pretty significant step
Yeah.
if they can get it to happen again. And from what I read, it's basically just putting people in super high oxygen environments for periods of time.
Making them
And
all
living,
rusty. Yeah.
and living in that makes the telomeres grow.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they're already doing that with a lot of infections now that are antibacterial resistant.
So you're saying my habit of going to 13,000 feet and skiing isn't helping me get younger?
Not unless you go into a chamber at the end and live in 12 hours of a high oxygen environment.
So what?
And that
Although
was the thing. I was at go ahead.
going up to that level will increase the number of red blood cells in your body. So
No, you know.
you could hold more oxygen then.
It seems like Michael Jackson was just ahead of his time then. He was just living in his chamber.
I mean, a little bit, right?
And,
I mean, the whole
Disney,
reason
right?
the whole reason he was doing that was some wacko science. But the interesting thing about wacko science is it's usually based on a bit of science, right?
Right.
Wow.
So
People have been doing wacky stuff with telomeres for decades, right? And I know some people who I think are very unwise that have been sampling their own medicine ahead of testing. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a very good idea. One of them died of cancer. And I'm like, maybe you should just wait. Maybe try it out on some bugs and some mice. And some
Didn't you just say he's dead?
Well, no. There's more than one person doing it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
And then there are
there's
people who
probably-
are just,
there's probably 4 or 5 horror/sci-fi movies you should probably watch about doing stuff like that, right?
Well, it's funny because one of them's a sci-fi author of note, and I'm like, did you read your books to the end? You know, it's like anyway.
It always works out fine for the scientist who bravely uses his own technology ahead of the masses.
You know,
Well,
he
wasn't
actually
that
has
the-
a story where a scientist does that and ends up like ending the world.
Well, I Am Legend, the whole plot of that is, right, they were trying to cure cancer,
Yep.
and that's what happened. 28 Days Later is all about the rage virus getting out, and that also was supposed to cure some medical.
Yeah, but that, you know, the monkey with the Agent Orange, you know, the orange whatever eyeball holder openers. That's not how you normally create drugs. You know.
How do you create drugs, Chris?
Well, I think making monkeys watch war porn is not the typical manner of selecting your pharmaceuticals.
And you don't have to use the Meyer Pharmacy.
I think you need to investigate. I think you need to investigate the baboon head crushing experiment if you don't think that's how science works. Unfortunately,
I know we do terrible things to animals as part of science, and that's fundamental. But
that's just part of it, man. You don't get into science for torturing the animals, but it sure is great when you get that just happen, you know.
It's just a perk.
I like animals, you know. Did I tell you we're looking after my daughter's boyfriend's cat through Christmas?
And so your allergies are fine.
Oh no, it was horrific. So I'm in the little area where my office is in the house, and the cat is just all over me. She is very friendly and sweet and cute, and I'm just like, this is extremely irritating. It's basically a cat butt parade all day. So
lucky you, man. Hey, so if we're gonna live forever, then the real question becomes, what are we gonna eat? And the answer has clearly been presented to us. We're gonna eat ourselves, guys.
Ourselves. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the meat. So if you're a vegan and you have meat made, oh my god, did I click on the wrong?
You went the wrong way. It's the second one. After the ad, apparently. Oh, you don't have it. Weird.
No, it's not on.
Weird. Well, it's on mine.
Have you considered doing a better job, Rob?
I'm sorry. I'm literally looking at it on my page, but I don't control Reddit, man. Oh, interesting.
Okay.
I can't thumbs it up because I posted it, and it regards a posting as being already thumbs up. Well, anyway, Ouroboros steak. They are researching a meat that you make out of human cells, which of course means you can make meat out of yourself, and then not only are you not only is it cannibalism, but you're eating yourself, which is then therefore
it's an art project
by vegan law, by ancient vegan code, you can consent to eating yourself. So therefore, our vegan friend has to eat meat. And then 1,000 HR phone call worthy lunchtime discussions with our vegan friend can be put to rest.
So I have an issue with this story. One, it's not a product, it's just an art project where they basically took a little bit of ground beef and threw it in a petri dish and lit it beautifully. So this isn't science, first of all. Sure. Second of all, there's a squirrel outside my door here, and he is going to town on some piece of wood or nut or something.
Screenshots or it didn't happen, man.
Oh, no. But here's the thing I'm thinking. If this squirrel was presented with squirrel steak, would he eat it? I mean, he's very into this nut, man.
Of course he would.
I mean, but
squirrels eat birds and eggs.
Are we any different than the squirrels?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
We're substantially different than squirrels.
The squirrels have thus far spent exactly 0 time pondering the length of our telomeres. And telomeres. I know what it is.
Like a Star Trek Next Generation villain that aligns with Q or something.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The telomere is a race of, high tech sort of androids.
They live in the holodeck. It's actually a computer malfunction that made the telomeres.
Remember my beef. My beef with Deep Space Nine is that episode where Tom Paris, he's going on. Well, no. It was the science kid, the Asian science kid in Deep Space Nine. I forget his name.
The science kid?
Not kid. He's an adult.
You're talking about Bashir?
Not Bashir.
He's not Asian either.
He's a science kid.
I know he
You're
had
talking about
limbs.
Jake or Nog?
Whoever it was had limbs.
No one's talking about Nog.
What other kids are there on Deep Space Nine?
Not kid. Listen, I'm 48. Everyone's a freaking kid at this point, right?
That movie came out 25 years ago. That shows that you are contemporaneous with that child.
Well, that's true. But here, hold on. Let me load the darn cast list. I can't believe this. Harry, right? I can't believe I can't
So,
remember this
Rob,
guy's
while
name.
he's doing that, you want to talk about him?
Do it.
Well, he's right here.
Yeah. I can't mute him.
I don't know what science person he's talking about.
Was it a Dax? It might have been a Dax.
What was
no, I'm thinking Voyager. I'm thinking Voyager.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that would
that
definitely help.
I'm thinking Voyager. Okay. So, but there's that moment in Voyager where
You lost me.
you're killing me here. There's the moment when Ensign Harry Kim.
Oh, Harry Kim. Okay, yes.
Okay.
I would not call him a kid.
Well, no, he's not a kid, especially not now. And he goes, we have 3 major power systems: life support,
Yeah.
the warp core, and the holodeck. And I'm like, why is the holodeck in its own damn Jeffries tube and its own damn power supply? That's some BS, you know?
Man,
like, how about the weapons, the shields?
You say that now, but if you were on the Voyager for 2 weeks without holodeck, holy shit, things would burn. They would tear it apart.
What's the last 8 months been for you guys? But Voyager without the holodeck, being forced to hang around with, frickin' Tom Paris and Kate Mulgrew.
I got a Valve Index, man. It's basically the holodeck.
Yeah, right.
Before we go, Rob, I have to thank you specifically and from the bottom of my heart, because We Are the Champions. I binged.
Isn't it delightful?
All 6 episodes in like 48 hours, and it was just
what is this?
Oh,
you're right. It is. It's not entirely, but it is a lot like if Best in Show was real and a documentary series.
Yeah. If you told me that show was scripted, I would believe you. Because it's so weird. Like, it never goes off the deep end. That's the reason it's not scripted, because it all stays in the realm of believability. But those characters,
and I think they were smart with the first and last episode too. I think the first and last episode were my favorites. So
was it frog jumping? Was that the last one?
Yeah, I think they were smart how they organized it. But yeah, Netflix, man. There's also another series similar to that, but it's about weird sports in different countries, and that is really good too. Not quite the same as We Are the Champions, not quite as tongue-in-cheek, more like no reservations in that they explain the culture through these different sporting events. But
I was just... We Are the Champions is really glorious at maybe one of the things that makes me happiest in documentaries, which is making fun of something that you clearly love. Like, they actively are mocking these people, but the people there are in on it. They know it's silly, and they're having fun.
But they still love it. Yeah.
You're not laughing at them, you're laughing with them, which is a huge distinction. And makes it fun.
You're enjoying their wacky thing with them, and they're proud to have you enjoy it with them.
Exactly, they know. It's not like those people think, like chasing a cheese down a hill is going to give them fame and glory. You know what I mean?
No.
Except for within the cheese rolling down the hill community.
Correct.
So now a Netflix documentary.
The other one is called Home Game. If you want to check that one out too.
Cool.
Not quite as tongue-in-cheek, more sort of informational, but definitely some really cool stuff in there as well.
Cool.
Particularly the African wrestling episode was a favorite of mine because
you're super into wrestling.
When I was a kid, I was super into wrestling. Yes.
Is it
not so much anymore?
Okay.
It's really cool. It gets into sort of how they mix their wrestling with their traditional black magic. So like a lot of their wrestlers will do things like turn an opponent into a goat or something. That will be something that happens during a match. It's just like American wrestling. You know, they're going off the top turnbuckle with a leg or a knee, you know, body slamming each other. And then he also turns you into a goat. You know?
Okay.
This kind of reminded me a little bit of Ted Lasso. In so much as, you know, it makes you get through an episode and you kind of feel good about things. I gotta tell you, man, there ain't a lot that I watch on TV. I mean, I guess short of the Biden getting to, you know, start a transition, you know, that makes me feel kind of good. But pretty much nothing else makes me feel good anymore. I don't even remember feeling good.
But it's not, what's important is this isn't a grim podcast.
No. No, because you can watch Ted Lasso, We Are the Champions, and maybe even Home Game and not hate the world.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
All right, that's good. Let's end on a high note.
Rob's not wrong.
That's for once. Thank you, Rob Roseboom.
I'm feeling hopeful.
Hope. Thank you, Chris DeBoda.
Hopeful and changeful.
All right, I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda. This has been Geeks in Space, episode 546. Thanks for watching. I'm sure we'll see you tomorrow night for They Live